nothing of this nonsense. All these problems are created by, this disbalance is created by greedy, non-Krishna conscious people. Otherwise, there's no problem. Everything is already arranged. Whenever you see a problem, people were there. And they did something. It's like Prabhupada gives an example. You put a sack with grain on the field, and the birds come and they pick the grain, okay? But they pick here, pick there, and then they fly away. When a man comes, he will not pick anything. He will take the whole sack. And he will say, now I will make some business with grain here. He will not take what he needs, he will take the whole thing. Like communism, I grew up, I'm born in a communistic country. I left when I was 13 years old, but I do remember the ideals of communism. One of the foremost formula in communism is that it's going to be a wonderful society. Communistic society is a wonderful society because you take what you need and you give what you can. It's a nice formula. It sounds great. What happened? Everybody took whatever he could and didn't give anything. It was a society of thieves. The stealing was so monumental, that all the houses built those days in the countryside, they are from stolen material. Everything was stolen. Czech people, especially in the Czech Republic, they had this kind of very sick kind of humor. They're going, I'm not stealing for myself, I'm stealing for the family. It was like a bona fide excuse. Just stealing, cheating. Because that's the nature of a man. It's all described in the scriptures. We have imperfect senses, tendency to cheat, likely being in illusion. This is all qualities which are already built into this body. So therefore we have to be guarding them. We have to be, dealing with them. And that's only possible through Krishna consciousness. And it's all packaged in this one simple formula to follow the instruction of spiritual master. How can you cheat when you follow the instruction of spiritual master? How can you have imperfect senses when you follow somebody who has a perfect perception? How can you be in illusion when you follow somebody who speaks the truth? And how do you find out? By practice. You will see, it works. So this is the only problem we have. That we are trying to be our own authority and our own opinion. Prabhupada said if somebody is speaking, I believe in my opinion, or I think, Prabhupada said he can just stop speaking immediately. Because what comes after is just speculation. And it's changing all the time too. All the time people change their opinion, they change their views, they change their religion even. They change their everything. But this, what we are talking about, is not changing. So Prabhupada gave us something which is not changing and which is relevant and applicable to everybody. In this way, everybody can preach in his own field. But there are a few points we should consider. We should be honest in our preaching. People appreciate honesty. There is enough preaching hypocrites. The church is full of them. In India, there's always a scandals coming up. Big guru, big money, and big girlfriends. It always comes up, boom, like this. I am not following the Indian development, but I always hear from devotees, there was another one. Big Maha, Bhavananda Swami, worshipped by thousands, and then boom, yeah. In my days, when I joined this movement, Prabhupada even joked, he said, there's two main items imported from India to the West, rice and gurus. Because there were so many coming. I just know, and they were very prominent in the 60s. Guru Maharaji, then there was the Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, then there was, and the last one was the best, Bhagavan Osho. That was a real one. He was actually a newspaper reporter or some science fiction writer, but he was the best. He introduced such animalistic principles. He told his disciples that simply by sex life you make advancement. A lot. And more. You know? So they became like animals, you know. Then his whole leading crew of disciples died on AIDS. And then he last call was, now we exhausted our material desires, so now we can renounce. Well, you know, they were all dead on AIDS. So the whole movement just collapsed. And, you know, Guru Maharaji was great. We loved him because he said he's Krishna. He's a little fat man. And he said he's Krishna. And if you want to know about me, you have to read Srimad Bhagavatam. So but there was no Srimad Bhagavatam available. So we had so many people coming and asked, do you have a Srimad Bhagavatam? This is about Krishna, right? And we said, yes. And they were buying books like anything because they want to find out who is this Guru Maharaji. He's Krishna. And we didn't care less. We just told them, because when they read the books, they will quickly understand what a hypocrite and cheater such a person is. He got a big trouble because his sister actually said, no, actually, I am Krishna in female form. And then he got a court case, you know, against each other. Anyway, that was the end of that. German newspaper reporters, they had fun with this. I remember that picture of Guru Maharaj sitting on a big Yasasana and being celebrated, and some very, very inspired disciple, some lady, made a big cake for him, you know, yeah. And she offered him this big cake at this occasion, took it and just smashed it into his face. So there was newspaper reporters, and they immediately make all the photos, you know, God, Guru Maharaj with a cake in the face, you know, that was really something for the press. I remember that photo was really fantastic. So, you know, how can God not prevent that he get a cake in the face? This kind of people we had, there was plenty of them. We had all on the street, some people were, oh, God is Guru Maharaj, and everybody was following something, and there was children of God. This was really fanatical Christians. You know, they were running around. So we were, of course, unfortunately blended into the whole thing by the press, by the media. So all these things are finished. What is left over is actually Krishna consciousness. Because ultimately, yes, as is stated in the Shastra, the truth will be victorious. The truth will come. Even for a while it looks like it's heavy covered, it's heavy perverted, but when you do something real, and that's the principle in preaching, we have to be real. So Prabhupada encouraged everybody to preach, especially Indians. He said, wow, he said, Lord Chaitanya said, whoever is born in that country should preach. Because you have this culture heritage there already. Unfortunately, the preaching level is relatively small. Indians go around and beg for money. Prabhupada was very disgusted about this. He said, no, we should come and give, not to beg. Give them culture. There's no culture here. There's nothing. People know nothing about spiritual life. And Prabhupada started with the Westerners. And he put us in a preaching field before we even knew one thing. I joined this movement. After 2 days I was on the street distributing these books. 2 days. And I barely knew what I'm doing. I knew only one thing, I don't want to go back. I don't want to do what I've done. I found it so boring and so aimless. There was no aim, there was no, what am I living for? To work, to eat, and to eat, to work, and work, to eat, and eat, to work. This is what they told me to do. Yeah, you have to be a really good German for that. Germans are perfectly satisfied with this. Get up! And then when they talk German, you don't understand German, most of you, but if you would understand the language, the only thing they talk about is the work and the salary. You know, and how to eat, and the house. You know, German nation is completely cursed by a special hell which is called maintenance hell. Just maintain things. And they are completely fascinated by that. I think Indians don't understand what I'm talking about, because in India nothing is maintained. You know, but Germany, there is such a place like called Germany, where they cannot even wait until the grass is growing so they can cut it. They have a garage, it's all equipment like military, you know, there's 3 grass cutting machines, you know, there's equipment like, if you open these houses, it's like, you know, it's like equipped for the war with nature. And they have a snow plowing machine, and they have that kind of machines everywhere. They cannot wait until the snow falls down, they can clean it. Everything has to be cleaned, you know. And then you work the whole day so we can live. But actually they can never live. They prepare themselves to live all the time, but they don't live. They don't even understand what life is. They think this is life. You know, you are maintaining, fixing, you know, putting it up, and then it falls apart again. Of course it does. Then you fix it again, and, you know. When I drive on a German highway, because I was for 15 years practically living on these highways, traveling around distributing these books, even today, I cannot stop laughing. Because I drive on the same highway, on the same spot, and it's the same construction site there, which was there 20 years ago. It's just moved to another site. You know, they fix the highway, and then meanwhile the other part falls apart. Then they move the construction site to this side, and they fix the highway again, and then this one part falls, and then they move it like this. It's always a construction site in the same place. This is the kind of hell they live in. You know, they spend money just maintaining things and organizing us to be perfect. There is no such a thing like perfect. The only thing which is perfectly arranged that you will die. That's definitely sure. So there's this kind of mentality. In India it's different. You know, in India it's like Prabhupada said it is actually completely natural for the conditioned soul to be lazy. Because this world is so uninspiring. Because whatever you do, it falls apart again. So why should I fix it? So actually, but that's the material part. Generally, devotees are people who are very lazy. They're not inspired to make economic development. They're not inspired to become famous. They're not inspired to get something out of this world. Yeah, but that's the part number one. Part number two is that you have to compensate it by being very busy on a spiritual platform. That means being engaged in service of Krishna. And that busyness, you can become so busy. Because whenever you do something right for Krishna, he will immediately show you how to do something else too, and better. So you think, you know, we have experience. I'm managing this movement since, I don't know what, since, precisely spoken, yeah, maybe 25 years. And there is never enough money, there is never enough people, and there is never enough. There's always somebody missing. And there's always some money missing. And there's always some problem to be solved. Until you understand, yeah, well, that's how Krishna wants us to live. Because otherwise you will become lazy. If you have so much money, that's a problem in India. In India, devotees don't work. They just supervise. You know, there's 100 people doing here and 100 people doing there. You know, and they dream about how all these people in the West are so rich. Here, I cannot have a servant. All the devotees in India have servants. Of course, they don't wash a floor. I saw a lady, a girl, I know Mataji, I know a lady in India, which is actually coming originally from Germany, but she lives in India for many years. In Germany, she was just a girl who was just barely surviving. In India, she has a flat, and then there's always this Indian little ladies running around, and she goes, Haja, 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 and then just clean the floor, and they cut the vegetable, and she just comes maybe and throws some spices into the pot. You know, can you imagine to live like this in the West? I mean, you are working really hard, and then what? You come home and you have to shop, you know, and then you have to, oh boy, and the washing machine breaks down, and you know, it's struggle. And the stupid Indians, they think really we are enjoying like in heaven here. No, we are the poor people. Both materially and spiritually, actually. We are the poor people here, struggling, paying a rent, you know, which is so big, like a 1 year's salary in India. They always think, such a big income in the West. So many rupees. But they don't see the expense, you know, and the tax. 50% tax, they will take half of the money away from you and spend it for some ridiculous thing, especially in Scandinavia. Absolutely ridiculous thing. You know, feeding cookies to criminals or I don't know what. You know, so it's like some very important program. You know, we have that the local jail needs new video games, or new computer games, or something like this. All sponsored by the tax money. You know, it's just ridiculous things. So this is illusions. So to get free from that illusion, one has to come in touch with pure devotee. So Srila Prabhupada showed us a completely different way of life. And he engaged us in preaching. You know something about Krishna? Tell it to the other. But don't make any big fuss out about this. Don't present yourself like some big transcendentalist. Why should you do that? You should be honest. People challenge sometimes, especially in Germany. I got that one very often. You act like you know everything. You know what? I do. Shocked. How can you say such a thing? But because I know who does. I'm somebody who does know everything. I don't know everything. I'm not perfect. But how can you say such a thing? He knows everything. Well, let's compare. What do you know? Tell me something, please. Tell me, what do you know? Do you know the meaning of life? What is life for? Well, you have to work. Well, that's an animal doing too. An ass is working the whole day. I saw it in India. They load the ass with laundry, you know, the donkey. You see only these 4 legs. You don't even see the animal anymore. There's so much laundry, just these 4 legs going like this. And there's a man behind with a stick and going, beating him on the legs and you know, like this. And then, I just heard it Prabhupada describing it on a lecture. He describes the ass is carrying the laundry to the river, then the laundryman is washing it, and then he carries it in the evening back. And what he gets for it? A bunch of grass. The same grass which is growing on the road. He could have it for free. He could be a lazy, happy ass. But because he's an ass, he doesn't understand. He's just going, I'm working here. I'm a German ass, you know. I carry lots of laundry because German ass must always carry lots of laundry. He's proud, I'm such a big ass. You know, this is the mentality that people are educated into. So cheating. So Prabhupada showed us a completely different life. So we all can preach. If you appreciate something in Krishna consciousness, you understand. But we should state that what we do. Not just the classical mistake of a new devotee who reads something in the books. Krishna is dancing with the gopis. Wow! You know, next day he's on the street explaining to some bunch of young boys, you know, we are worshipping Krishna, he is dancing with lots of girls, gopis. And the boys goes, wow, I have only 2 girlfriends, you know. What kind of Krishna is it? He has so many. He has 108 girlfriends. Wow. Big offense, big misunderstanding. Like example, anything around this intimate pastime of the Lord should never be preached in public. This is not meant for the public. First comes, very simple, I think we are very simple introduction. First we have to make people to understand you are not this body. And don't worry to preach this the whole life, because they will not understand. They go, okay, yeah, I'm not this body, but I am this mind. No, you are not this mind either. Yeah, okay, I'm not this body, but I'm Danish. No, you are not Danish either. Yeah, okay, I'm not Danish, okay, I understand, I can change that, but then I'm a man. No, you are not man either, or woman. You are not this body. It takes a whole lifetime of preaching just to get that one point across. There's no need to go further. And then when they maybe accept this, then comes the next point. If I'm not the body, then what am I? The soul. The soul in the body. And you mean the bodily soul? No, not the bodily soul. The soul in the body. Or you mean I have the soul? No, you are the soul. You don't have the soul. And you have to go bang, 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 bang for the next 50 years until he understands, I am the soul. It really is like this when you preach. They always come, Oh, now I understand, I have the soul. No, you don't have the soul, you are the soul. Okay, bang, bang, bang again. And you don't move from this until this is established. Okay, I'm not this body, I'm the soul. Okay, what is the next? Then when I'm the soul, where is the soul coming from? How did I get into this body? Very good question. How did you get into this body? Because the soul is conscious and consciousness. Ah, consciousness. Wow. I know consciousness, I heard the word. But what is consciousness? What you think, what you feel, and what you want. 3 things. Okay. Yeah, I think, I feel, and I want. I understand that. I think I have the soul, and I feel like I am the body, and no, again, back again. We are not the body, we are... And you don't move until it's established. You have a whole lifetime full of preaching ahead, just on these points. And the soul is small, and it's part of the biggest soul. Prabhupada even didn't mention the word God when he started to preach. He said, these people are so atheistic, they will immediately say, Swamiji, go home. So he didn't even spoke. He spoke about us, the soul, the person, being part of the big person. You know, he didn't even mention that word person in the beginning. He spoke us, the consciousness, is part of the supreme consciousness. Sounds a little bit impersonal. Because he wasn't so sure these people can even understand such a concept, that we are a person, part of the supreme person. Most of the people immediately say, impossible. God cannot be a person, impossible. Why? Because then he's like me. But that's because you understand what kind of person he is. Boy, when you are on that level, you are already very advanced. By that time almost you are dying. It's a whole lifetime of preaching to come to this one point. God is a person. Oh, that's scary. You know, and then person. There's even a religion where it's forbidden to think like this. Muslims. God cannot have a form. They don't understand. It's written in their Shastra. You should not imagine a God, form of God. It doesn't state there is no form of God. You shouldn't imagine. Because if Muslim just imagine a form of God, it will be probably something really terrible. So better you don't imagine. Better you skip the whole concept. You have only Christianity, Muslim thing. It's basically based these religions on establishing people as human beings. Moral principle. Thou shalt not kill. Great. Can you imagine for whom this scripture was spoken? For killers, murderers. Because if the first command is thou shalt not kill, well, they must have been all killers. Should not have sex with your mother. What kind of order is this? What kind of people were these? You don't find this in Bhagavad Gita. This is completely assumed, of course. You know, the Muslims think, I'm not so detailed information, but you know, it's basically establishing, restricting people from doing the worst. You know, Muhammad said, whoever doesn't have at least 10 wives is not my disciple. Why? Because if you have 10 wives, you are really regulated. You know, you will have not much time to make so much nonsense going around chasing girls. These 10 wives will make sure you don't do so. Yeah? And then, you know, just regulating. First you regulate, then you stop. That's the idea. We do the same. First you regulate, then stop. And stopping means what? Replacing with a positive alternative. This is not stopping. You don't stop sex life. There is actually a pure form of sex life. Krishna even says, I am the sex life. Which is not against the regulation given in the scriptures. That's me. I am the incarnation of sex life. Prabhupada was very upset when people said, you are against sex life. Prabhupada said, no, we propagate sex life. But the way Krishna wants. Of course, when you study how Krishna wants that we have sex, well, as one young disciple getting the point said, well, Prabhupada, then what's the use? Prabhupada says, a very intelligent boy. If you do the real thing. So, we are not against self-gratification at all. We are enjoying like hell. We have fancy food, we have something to look at. Prabhupada said, we even dance with the nicest girls in the whole world. In Kirtan. That was at the time that there was at least as many girls joining this movement as boys. But Prabhupada said, that's our sisters. That's where it stops. Yeah? Actually, the Vedic concept is that any woman which is not my wife is Mataji, Mama. That is a concept. Any other woman, Mataji. Young, old, any shape, Mataji. That's the Vedic culture. There is a respect. Mataji actually is very respectful of this. Can you imagine any woman will be addressed like a mother? It's a very respectful way to deal with women. Then they say, but you know, in India they suppress women and this. Of course it happens. Of course it does. You know, but what about the West? When women are walking the streets like wild animals, ready to be shot and killed and abused by anybody. Anybody can go and get it. Because indeed, they must be less intelligent, because why they actually agree on that? But the men tricky. That's what Prabhupada also said. I mean, he said so many revolutionary things. He said all this feminism and all this is created by men, not by women. Because the man devised a trick how to get the women out of the protection of the family. Be free! Liberate yourself from your parents, from the relatives. Come out on the street so I can get you. It's as simple as that. And these foolish creatures believe that. I am free, I'm free, I'm free. Prabhupada said at the end you are free to go to social welfare office and beg for money. That's your freedom. So that's how cheated people get. And the men, same thing. They also feel like, oh, I'm free, I'm free. What are you free? What is the freedom? Where's the freedom? To grow old and die, that's your freedom. So, you know, so Prabhupada was addressing one issue after another. This is a basic preaching. Now somebody can say, but I am not a trained preacher, I'm not living in a temple. Living in a temple, most of the devotees nowadays don't live in a temple. And Prabhupada even predicted it. In a time, so practically every member of this movement lived in a temple. That was actually the days I joined. People living outside was like, they're in an illusion. We are here in the temple, we surrendered. And we did. There was no concern for social security. There was no concern for economical maintenance. Just preach and depend completely on Krishna. That was just that. You can't imagine how can I live like this. Basically, I lived my whole life like this. I didn't die, obviously. So, you can't imagine, how can you live like this? You have pension? No. You have a good health insurance? No. You know, you have a steady income? No. How can you live like this? How will you survive the next year? Well, how did I survive the last 40 years? So, it's, you know, people have no faith that actually God can take care, but we have to be willing to be engaged in His service. We cannot just do our own thing and demand, God, come. It's like Srila Prabhupada discovered the Indian hypocrisy. He said, when Indians make profit, they are quiet. Just make business, make money, they are quiet. But when something happens, oh God, how could this happen? Suddenly they turn to God. The loss, that's God's problem. How could He allow that I suffer like this? I lost the money. But when I make money, I'm quiet. Prabhupada said, no. If you really believe in God, then you have to understand everything comes from Him. Success and failure. Gain and loss. This is all coming, it's all controlled. So this is Krishna consciousness in all phases of life being dependent